Yeah. I'm talking to Sue Hurdle, who's the chief executive of the Travel Foundation, and the Travel Foundation has just had its annual general meeting today. So Sue, tell me, highlights of today?
I think the highlights of today are really the opportunity that we've had to bring to our partners in the travel industry information about a couple of issues that perhaps we wouldn't get to hear about otherwise. And the issue of food security, which is quite a technical term, but we highlighted it with information about the sustainability of fish and the crisis facing the honeybee, both of things which actually have been in the news recently, quite coincidentally, but more importantly, how those two areas and the general food security issue applies to tourism. And taking it on from there, having the opportunity to talk to companies and get them to explore in quite an interactive way what we can all do about it. You know, if you're a tour operator or if you're a travel agent, you know, what can you do about these issues? They seem so huge when you hear about them on the news. That's too much of a problem, I can't do anything about that. But actually, today has given us the opportunity to think about the fact that there are things that we can do. We can communicate. If we're a travel agent or if we're a tour operator, we can talk to our customers about the issue. We can talk to our suppliers. One of the little examples was given about food. Get your hoteliers to put a label on the food on the buffet to say, this food is a local dish, you know, or the ingredients for this came from within 10 miles of the hotel, or whatever it is. And that makes a huge difference. And we had some feedback from tour operators today saying doing something like that, where they've piloted it, has actually increased customer satisfaction levels. So there are things. They might seem very small, but there are ways that each of us can contribute to these issues that seem just too enormous globally. And today I think we've had that opportunity to think about that.
So it's a very successful day and actually a very successful year as far as the Travel Foundation is concerned. So what are your highlights of this year? Apart, of course, I should congratulate you on winning the Ulysses Prize at the UNWTO and your visit to Madrid to collect that, which we reported last week. What are the other highlights of this year?
Well, I think the last year has been a difficult year for the travel industry, and because we're part of the travel industry, it hasn't been easy for us either, but we've managed through the support of our partners to keep the fundraising going, and our income remained at over £1 million, which we're thrilled about and delighted, and thank you very much to everybody who has participated in raising funds for us. And to the generosity of companies who've given from the bottom line. I mean, that's been wonderful because that's given us the opportunity to keep our work going. And aside from the fundraising side of things, we've been able to start a programme of quite serious replication. We piloted a project at the beginning of last year in Cyprus, which was helping hotels to reduce their consumption of water and of energy. It was a very simple, straightforward project. About a third of the hotels in Cyprus participated in it, and they saved collectively through very simple measures like making sure that the toilet system wasn't constantly running and making sure that the washers in the taps were, you know, tightened up and so forth. They saved collectively €600,000 just in a 6-month trial of doing something very, very simple. And we've now been able to begin the replication of this in 7 countries. That's what we're going to be working on from now onwards, really, from the beginning of 2009 onwards, to try and get some real scale in what we're doing. So Travel Foundation does quite a lot of piloting and testing of new ideas, very simple, very practical things, and then looking for scale to take them forward and replicate them. And that's been one of the great things of the last year.
So that's going to be your task for next year, I presume. That's going to be the big thing, is it? Or have you got more things in the pipeline?
Oh yes, always more, always too much to do. Yes, that's been part of our response to climate change, of course. One of the things that today has been all about is food and food security. And so over the next few years, I would say, these are longer term projects, we're going to be looking at how can travel companies in the UK work with their destination suppliers to try and get as much local food into the hotels as possible, and whether that's food and fresh lettuce and pineapples and so forth grown locally, or fish, and what kind of fish is sustainable, and what is sustainable locally, and how can that be supplied to the hotels. These are longer term issues, but critically important, and there is a really important role that the travel industry can play in that, and it's our job to work with companies to help make that a reality.
And as your chairman, Roger Heap, said at the beginning, that the Travel Foundation is the one organisation that has actually hacked it with the travel industry. So you must be very proud of that, and you must be very proud of the support that you have from the industry at large.
Thrilled, absolutely. Who would have thought 6 years ago that we would be here in this position today? I'm really pleased. And what's even more gratifying actually is that some of the companies that have been with us since the very beginning have actually taken up the baton, and they've started to run with it themselves. In the first instance, I think it would be fair to say that we've held the hands of some companies to help them to understand what sustainability is, and how their staff and their suppliers can kind of get to grips with it. Some of those have started to forge ahead themselves. They've let go of our hand a little bit on some of these issues, and I must congratulate TUI in that respect, because they're doing a terrific job. Not to say that there's not a lot more for us to do together, but in some areas they've forged ahead. They've used the tools that we helped to develop with them in the first place and pilot, and now they're taking it forward, and that's absolutely what the Travel Foundation is about. Somebody asked me when we first launched the Travel Foundation what success would look like, and my answer was that there would be no need for a Travel Foundation. Now, we're a really long way away from that, but I'm delighted that we've made a start on that. So keep up the good work, and more companies get on board with this. Come and see, it's not that difficult.
Thanks very much indeed.